During our honeymoon, my mother-in-law pulled off a shocking betrayal by stealing my $50,000 jewelry box. When we got home and I asked her about it, she exploded in anger. She grabbed the electric iron from the corner of the room and struck me on the side of my head, leaving me bleeding and dazed. To my surprise, my husband stood by her side. Heartbroken, I left the house, planning my revenge. They had no idea I had a big surprise coming that would change everything. My name is Emma, and I am a 28-year-old graphic designer living in Austin. Looking back, I remember how excited I was on my wedding day, full of hopes and dreams for the future. I thought marrying my college sweetheart, Ryan, was the beginning of a perfect life. But little did I know, the path ahead would be anything but perfect. It all started subtly, like a faint crack in a seemingly flawless mirror. At first, it was little things like my mother-in-law, Laura, rearranging the furniture in our apartment without asking or criticizing how I cooked. I brushed it off, telling myself it was harmless, just part of adjusting to married life. But things quickly escalated, and I began to feel like a guest in my own home. Months into the marriage, I started noticing small but unsettling signs, missing items here and there. At first, I thought I was being forgetful. But one evening, I returned home after work to find my entire jewelry box containing pieces worth $50,000 gone. The box held everything: family heirlooms, sentimental gifts, and my personal collection. Panic consumed me as I tore through the apartment, searching for it. Ryan walked in moments later and found me frantically pulling open drawers and cabinets. "What's going on, Emma?" he asked, alarmed. "My jewelry box is gone, Ryan," I exclaimed, my voice trembling. "It's everything. My grandmother's heirlooms, my savings in gold. It's worth thousands of dollars." Ryan's expression shifted to confusion.
Gone?
"Are you sure? Maybe you misplaced it." "No, Ryan, I didn't misplace it," I snapped, frustration boiling over. "Someone took it, and I think I know who." Ryan stared at me, his brow furrowed. "What are you trying to say, Emma? Who would steal it?" I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves.
Your mother, Ryan.
"Laura has been meddling in our home ever since we got married. She's the only one who's been in this apartment while we're not here." Ryan's face tightened. "Emma, that's a serious accusation. My mom wouldn't do something like that." "Ryan, open your eyes," I said, my frustration mounting. "She's always crossing boundaries, treating this place like it's hers. She was here just last week when I wasn't home. Who else could it be?" Ryan shook his head, his disbelief clear. "Emma, she's my mom. She might be overbearing, but stealing? That's ridiculous." I stared at him, my heart sinking. He wasn't going to believe me, not without proof. Determined to get answers, I decided to confront Laura myself. I couldn't sit idly by while the woman who stole from me got away with it. The next afternoon, I drove to Laura's house, my heart pounding in my chest. I found her in her bedroom, casually folding clothes as if she hadn't turned my world upside down. Taking a deep breath, I stepped forward. "Laura, where's my jewelry box?" I asked, my voice calm but firm. She looked up at me, feigning surprise. "What are you talking about, Emma?" "You know exactly what I'm talking about," I snapped, stepping closer. "My jewelry box, worth $50,000, is missing, and you're the only person who's been in my home. Don't try to deny it." Her expression changed instantly. The fake innocence disappeared, replaced by anger. "How dare you come into my house and accuse me of stealing?" she shouted, her voice dripping with venom. "I've done nothing but help you and Ryan, and this is how you repay me?" "You've crossed the line, Laura," I shot back. "You've been meddling in our lives since day one, and now you've gone too far. Admit it. You took my jewelry." Her face turned red with fury as she marched across the room. I stood my ground, refusing to let her intimidation tactics work on me this time. Then, without warning, she stormed over to the ironing board in the corner of the room. Grabbing the electric iron, she turned back to me, her grip tightening on the handle. "You think you can come here and disrespect me?" she screamed, her voice shaking with rage. "You're nothing without my son." Before I could react, She swung the iron and struck me on the side of my head. Pain exploded through my skull as I stumbled backward, collapsing onto the floor. Blood trickled down my temple, and my vision blurred as I struggled to stay conscious. "You'll never be good enough for this family," she yelled, standing over me with the iron still in her hand. "Get out of my house." As I lay on the floor, clutching my head and gasping for breath, I heard the sound of the front door opening. Ryan's voice rang out through the house, panic laced in his tone. "Mom? Emma? What's going on?" he called out. Moments later, Ryan appeared in the doorway of the bedroom. His eyes widened in horror as he took in the scene, me on the floor, bleeding and dazed, and his mother standing over me with the iron still clutched in her hand.
Mom.
"What have you done?" he shouted, rushing to my side. He knelt down and gently lifted my head, his hands trembling. "Emma, are you okay?" "Oh my God, you're bleeding." "She deserved it," Laura snapped, her voice cold and unapologetic. "She came here accusing me of stealing her precious jewelry box. I won't stand for her disrespect." Ryan's face turned pale, his shock quickly giving way to anger. "You hit her? With an iron? What is wrong with you, Mom?" "She's been stirring up trouble ever since she married you," Laura retorted, pointing the iron at me. "She's trying to turn you against me, but I won't let her." I struggled to sit up, my head pounding and my vision still blurry. "Ryan, she stole my jewelry box. All of it, $50,000 worth of jewelry." I confronted her, and this is how she reacted. Ryan looked at me, his expression torn, then turned to his mother. "Is this true? Did you take her jewelries?" Laura's face hardened. "I didn't steal anything. She's making up lies to drive a wedge between us." "She's lying, Ryan," I said, my voice weak but resolute. "She's been in our home when we weren't there, and now my jewelry box is gone. She attacked me because she knows I'm right." Ryan stood, his hands clenched into fists. "Mom, if you didn't take it, then where is it? Where's Emma's jewelry?" Laura faltered, her confidence cracking for a split second. But she quickly recovered, crossing her arms and lifting her chin. "I don't know where it is. Maybe she misplaced it and wants to blame me." "Stop lying," I shouted, my frustration boiling over despite the pain in my head. "You've been trying to undermine me since the day I married Ryan. But this time I have proof." Ryan turned to me, his brow furrowed. "What proof, Emma?"
What are you talking about?
I steadied myself, forcing myself to sit upright despite the throbbing in my head. "I found receipts from a local pawn shop, Ryan. Receipts that matched the description of the jewelry for my box. And guess whose name is on them?" Laura's smug expression faltered. Her lips parted as if to argue, but no words came out. Ryan's face turned pale, his confusion shifting to disbelief. "Mom?" Ryan's voice was almost a whisper. "Is this true? Did you sell Emma's jewelry?" Laura scoffed, folding her arms. "I borrowed it, okay? It's not like she was wearing it every day. Why should it sit there collecting dust when I needed the money?" "Borrowed?" I snapped, my voice rising. "You don't borrow something by selling it at a pawn shop, Laura. That jewelry wasn't just expensive, it was priceless to me. My grandmother's heirlooms were in that box." Ryan's face contorted with anger. "Mom, how could you do this? That wasn't yours to take." Laura's defensive tone escalated. "Oh, stop acting like it's a big deal. I raised you by myself, Ryan. I sacrificed everything for you. The least she can do is contribute to this family. She's been nothing but a spoiled, ungrateful brat since the day she married you." Ryan shook his head, his voice shaking with fury. "You're trying to justify stealing $50,000 worth of jewelry? And you attacked her with an iron? I can't believe this. You've crossed every line." Laura's face turned red with rage. "She's turning you against me, Ryan.
Can't you see?
She's poison for this family." But Ryan had heard enough. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. "This ends now," he said, his voice resolute. "Emma, you need medical attention and Mom needs to face the consequences." "Ryan, what are you doing?" Laura demanded, panic creeping into her voice. "I'm calling the police, Mom," he replied coldly. You've gone too far. Laura's eyes widened in disbelief. Ryan, you can't do this. I'm your mother. Are you really going to call the police on me? Ryan's face was pale but determined. You stole from my wife, assaulted her, and lied about it. I can't let this slide. You've left me no choice. I sat on the floor, clutching my aching head as I watched the scene unfold. My heart pounded as I heard Ryan speaking to the emergency dispatcher, explaining the situation. His words felt surreal, but for the first time, I saw him taking a stand, choosing me over his mother. Minutes later, the sound of a police siren echoed outside the house. Laura's composure cracked completely as she paced the room, wringing her hands. You don't have to do this, Ryan, she pleaded. I'll return the money. I'll fix everything. Please don't do this. Ryan didn't respond. He walked over to me, gently helping me to my feet. Emma, I'm so sorry for everything, he said softly. We'll get through this. The front door swung open, and 2 police officers stepped into the house. One of them looked at Laura, his expression stern. Ma'am, we received a report of theft and assault. We need you to come with us. Laura froze, her face pale. This is a misunderstanding, she stammered. I didn't mean to cause any harm. The officer ignored her protests and took out his handcuffs. You're under arrest for theft and assault. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. As the officer secured the cuffs around Laura's wrists, she turned to Ryan, her voice desperate. Ryan, please. I'm your mother. You can't let them take me. Ryan's jaw tightened. You did this to yourself, Mom. I tried to defend you, but you crossed every boundary. This has to stop. The officers led Laura out of the house, her pleas fading as the front door closed behind them. For the first time in months, the house was silent. Ryan turned to me, his shoulders slumping. Emma, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize how far things had gone. I looked at him, still shaken but grateful he had finally stood up for me. Ryan, this doesn't fix everything, but it's a start. Later that evening, as I sat in the emergency room getting stitches for the gash on my head, the reality of what had happened began to sink in. Laura, my mother-in-law, had been arrested. Ryan sat beside me, quiet and reflective, his guilt written all over his face. Once the doctor was done, Ryan spoke softly. Emma, I know words aren't enough, but I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. I'll help you press charges if that's what you want. I nodded, still feeling the weight of everything. I'm going to press charges, Ryan. She attacked me, she stole from me, and she has to face the consequences. I can't just let this go. The next day, I contacted the police department and provided all the evidence, the pawn shop receipts, photographs of my injuries, and a detailed statement about what had happened. The officers were understanding and assured me that they would pursue the case. Meanwhile, Ryan reached out to the pawn shop and worked with the police to recover as much of the stolen jewelry as possible. Though some of it had already been sold off, a few pieces were retrieved, including one of my grandmother's heirlooms. It was bittersweet, knowing I might never see the rest of my collection again. Weeks later, the case went to court. Sitting in the courtroom, I felt a mixture of nerves and determination. Laura sat across from me, her demeanor subdued, but still defiant. She avoided my gaze, but I could feel her hostility even from a distance. The prosecution presented the evidence, the pawn shop receipts, CCTV footage of Laura selling the jewelry, and my medical report showing the injuries from the iron attack. It was an open and shut case. When the judge delivered the verdict, I felt a surge of relief. Laura was found guilty of theft and assault. She was sentenced to community service, restitution of $50,000, and a fine. Though she didn't receive jail time, it was enough to prove that her actions had consequences. As the gavel struck, I exhaled deeply. Justice had been served. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. The relationship with Ryan was strained, but not entirely broken. He had taken steps to stand by me, but the emotional scars ran deep. After a long and heartfelt discussion, we decided to separate for a while, giving each other space to heal. I returned to my work as a graphic designer, throwing myself into new projects and rediscovering my independence. I also sought therapy to process the trauma and regain my confidence. Slowly but surely, I began to feel like myself again. One evening, as I sat on my balcony overlooking the city, I reflected on everything that had happened. It had been a painful journey, but I had learned to stand up for myself and demand respect. I wasn't just a victim, I was a survivor. With a glass of wine in hand and the cool breeze on my face, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't felt in months. My future was mine to shape, free from the toxicity that had held me back. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more, don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments section below. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means the world to me, and I can't wait to share more stories with you soon.